that says like "Welcome to Tampa, home of the Stanley Cup,
Wow.
the Super Bowl, and another thing. I don't know.
You ever thought about the hockey at all?
No.
No?
I've never been to a hockey game in my life.
Okay, well, we can change that.
Sure.
We can do that. Let's do this. Let's wake up.
I just yawned.
It was a very quick yawn.
Because I didn't want it to get on the
I don't know
air.
how you did that. Let's do this. Let's get a group, and we'll go to an Islander game.
Okay.
Okay?
Sure.
Okay?
I don't
You're
sound
saying sure,
convincing.
like it's not going to happen. You're not convincing me.
We'll see what happens.
See, just say yes, Allie.
Yes.
You need to be more spontaneous in your life. I think that's what's holding you back.
Probably true.
Yeah. You gotta be spontaneous. You gotta one day at 10:30 at night say, hey, I'm gonna go to the movies right now.
At 10:30 at night, I'm in bed.
I know. 2.5 hour movie too. I was dying at the end of it.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have fallen asleep being by
There
myself.
were 4 people in that movie theater. 2 of us were there alone. Me and an African American man. He was sitting in front of me, and he turned around when the movie ended. He goes, "That was deep, man." And I go, "Yeah, it was." And he goes, "Not many movies move me like that." I was like, "Yeah,
That's
it was
nice.
very
You
moving."
enjoyed it too.
He did. No, it was good. It's good bonding for people who are there alone.
Okay.
And there's more than me out there, so all the power to you people. What else we got? What'd you have?
We could talk about that Penn State is going to pay
Let's do that.
about $60 million to the 26 abuse victims. We all know Jerry Sandusky is in prison, where I believe he should be. And I just thought, first of all, AP got it wrong. They said 57.9, immediately corrected themselves, 59.7. So about $60 million dispersed among 26 people. It really causes you to come into question about how do you put a price on that?
Yeah. And I thought that
You
was
have
interesting.
to. You can't do nothing. These people deserve something, but you cannot say, you can't put a price on that.
Yep. And I was going to say, before you said that, I was going to say the interesting part of your email last night was just that question. Can you put a price on that?
Yeah.
And I personally, I don't think you can, but I don't work in insurance. And
Yeah.
I mean, insurance companies do the same thing.
Well, president of the university comes out and says, we can't undo what's been done, but we can and must do everything possible to learn from this and ensure it never happens again.
Yep.
Obviously, there needed to be a pay out to these families.
Of course.
As an outsider, you think, wow, that's awesome. Like, they deserve this money. As an insider, as a member of that family, or as a victim,
Right.
they probably don't care.
It's true.
They don't want the money.
It's true, and it's just sad because the whole situation could have been avoided. The whole situation could have been under control before it got out of hand.
Yeah.
The whole situation is sad, and it's a tragedy, and it's sad to watch, even from an outside perspective.
Yeah.
Obviously, I can't even fathom the emotional stress that those people are under.
Yeah.
Or that people who even go to the school are under.
But let me ask you about Joe Paterno and what you think his role. I mean, it was sad what happened to his legacy at the end of his life.
I agree. Here's the thing.
How much blame do you place on him?
And let me Reichman rant for a minute.
Go ahead.
I have friends who go to Penn State. I had teachers who went to Penn State. I know people who think Joe Paterno was a god, was a great man. Joe Paterno was a great football coach. And Joe Paterno should be remembered as a great football coach who won a lot of football games. Joe Paterno is a monster.
Wow.
In my eyes.
Because he
stood by and allowed for children to be sodomized in his locker room by one of his coaches on his field, on his campus,
having a great football program
under the guide of winning football games. And that's where sports to me gets out of hand. You know me, I love sports. I think of sports as an escape. You come home from work, you come home from school, you watch a game, you're out of it for a while. You're just caring about the Islanders, you're just caring about the Mets. It doesn't matter that you failed the test before. It doesn't matter that you got yelled at work. It's over. You're watching sports. It's an escape. Here's the thing, though. When people's lives are at risk, when people's emotional well-being or physical well-being is at risk, and you have the power and the capability to stop it, and you do nothing, you're just as bad as the man who's doing it.
Are you worse, or are you just as bad?
You're
'Cause
just
some
as
people
bad.
would argue, obviously Jerry Sandusky is sick, maybe has mental health problems.
And I think the people who said, hey, winning football is more important than helping these kids have the same mental problems.
Okay. All right. I would agree, and I see that you're very, very passionate about this, and I appreciate it because that's what we want to talk about on this show. Going right back to the victims, a lawyer for one of them came out and said, you can never make whole anyone who was raped by another individual. My client found the settlement acceptable under the circumstances. So going back to it, acceptable, like, I'll take this money, but it's not going to change anything. And
Yeah.
you can't change it. And then others came out and they just were focused on how they're going to prevent future abuse.
No amount of money is ever going to make that child forget what happened. And that is a tragedy in and of itself.
Yeah.
That person has to live for the rest of his or her his life knowing that happened to them.
Right.
Knowing that they are in a minority of people who have been taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And
I
they
have
can't
such compassion for the families, and even, the Paterno family, the Sandusky family. There's so
Right.
many people in that family that are now in pain that had no real role that they played
And don't get me wrong.
in the scandal.
I'm not saying that Joe Paterno was,
Now, what
the
would
one
you
who committed
say
the acts.
about taking away his wins?
well, yeah.
Well
course.
deserved, because you were separating
Of course well
him as a
deserved.
person as him as a football coach.
He was a
We're
great
gonna keep
football coach. But here's the deal. When you screw with the NCAA, they'll screw with you.
Yeah.
And they did. And it sucks. It sucks for those players who went there
Right.
and got their wins taken away. What does that even mean? Are you saying that I didn't even play in those games,
Right.
And it sucks for them, but you cheated.
Yeah.
You cheated. You broke the rules, and you don't get to do that. You get
Broke the
penalized for
law.
that. You broke the law. But you know what? People didn't see that as breaking the law, because apparently in Pennsylvania, in Penn State, there's some sort of weird mental state where you can sodomize children and not have to tell the police. That's fine with them, not really in the rest of the world. They figured that out the hard way, and they lost wins, and Joe Paterno does not deserve to have those wins.
I think this is all coming out, and it's going to, unleash a lot of feelings about it that had maybe been put to rest.
Yeah.
It's certainly back in the news.
I don't
Certainly
understand.
opens the conversation up again.
I have a hard time talking to people, conversating with people who believe that Joe Paterno was in no way at fault. And I have friends who go to Penn State, and I love them. They're my friends. But, God, open your brain
They
a
have
little
a
bit.
hard time separating, idolizing him from being
and I get it.
realistic about-
Geez, here on campus, if Brother Devlin, just imagine if something bad came out about Brother Devlin, nobody would be able to ever, think of him in a different way. They would all, it's Brother Devlin. There's nothing wrong with Brother Devlin.
Right.
He's a great guy. So, I mean, I know Brother Devlin and Joe Paterno aren't really very
I think
similar.
we're getting away from...
But I'm just saying that we idolize people the same way they do. But I think that
It's a black and white
yeah,
situation where there's no gray areas.
yes. And yes, did he tell his superiors? Yes. But you have a responsibility as a human being, as somebody with a conscience and a soul and a heart, to tell the police.
Right.
And not even tell the police first. Sure, tell your superiors first. But when they don't,
Well, the thing that's so baffling is that for how long it went on, it's not like you're confronted with this decision, you wait a couple weeks because you really are having a crisis of conscience. That I understand. But for seasons and years,
decades.
that's what's
It's
so
baffling.
baffling.
It's baffling. It really is.
So,
It's terrible.
everything always comes to light anyway. Like, what I don't get is politicians and media personnel, and how do people not understand that the truth always comes out?
Always.
Do we
I'll
learn
always get
nothing
you.
from Bill Clinton? Do we learn nothing from Anthony Weiner? Like,
don't
anything.
know.
Nobody learns
I mean, maybe
that the
this
truth
is-
always comes out, that you have to just confront it head on, and that's the best way it's going to go away.
Some people, though, are really pretty good at keeping secrets.
They always come out. I believe
I will
always comes out.
I will say,
And it may
from
be
personal experience,
only because it hasn't yet. Whatever you're about to say, because it hasn't yet.
you're right. I mean, it hasn't yet.
You have personal secrets that haven't come out?
I do, and I'm ashamed of them. But, I mean, they're not like anything that I'd get arrested for or anything
No.
that.
And everybody has things,
but
but it always comes to light.
I have a hard time thinking this one will come to light.
Okay.
It just,
You have to let me know if it does.
I know. I will. No, you'll know. You'll see me. I'll be on News 12 or something. I'm kidding. I won't.
Oh my gosh. What did
I'm
you
running
do?
a meth lab out of the Marriott.
That's why
Imagine.
you're dressing as a.
Yeah, because I have to do the part. I have to play the part.
All right. Well, that was a lot. So
Yeah, that
let's
happened
take a
quickly.
break
Yes, let's do that.
because we all need a breather.
We
Let
could.
it sink in.
Could use a breather. We'll come back. We'll do something lighthearted,
Sure.
and then you'll go to class.
Yep.
All right. Be right back.
I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my